Welcome to our weekly Christ in Our Neighborhood conversation where we break open Sunday's Gospel with Bishop John. Everything you need to do this with family and friends is on the dphx.org website in the Christ in Our Neighborhood section. Welcome back, Bishop.
Oh, it's great always to be with the two of you. Wonderful.
We love having you here, and we're still working our way through the Gospel of Mark, and this week we're on chapter 8, verses 27 to 35. So, Bishop, would you start us off by reading the reflection, please?
Who do people say that I am? It is no mistake that Jesus poses this question as they head toward the villages of Caesarea Philippi, named by Philip II in 14 AD to honor himself, Philip the Tetrarch, and also Caesar Augustus. The word Caesar in Latin means king. Naturally, Jesus seizes this opportunity to bring up the concept of kingship as they come upon this territory. And when Jesus poses the question of his identity, Peter gives the correct answer. Well, you are the Christ. The word Christ in Greek also means king. Jesus does not deny this answer, but wanting to keep this a secret, orders them not to tell anyone about him.
Right. Immediately, Jesus begins to teach what kind of king he will be. Fulfilling the prophecy of Isaiah, Jesus will be a suffering servant who must, quote, suffer greatly, be rejected, and be killed. Unlike Caesar or Philip II, the Tetrarch, Jesus will not honor himself. As our king, he will suffer for us. But as Isaiah foretold, Jesus would be vindicated. Jesus tells them that he will rise after 3 days.
Peter does not grasp the Lord's notion of kingship and decides to correct him. Peter assumed Jesus to be a warrior king, like Caesar, but even stronger. Jesus' response is quick. Get behind me, Satan. Satan means adversary. Once again, Jesus reminds the disciples that if they should be co-heirs to the kingdom, they too must deny any self-honors, take up their crosses, and follow his way of kingship.
All right. So, Bishop, what is the question for this week?
Well, it's a good question, and I think it really ties into the concept of being an adversary, or poor Peter. He gets the title of Satan, but again, that's what it means, adversary, and anybody who's sort of standing in the way of what Jesus intends a king to be. And admittedly, there are times when I want to be an adversary, and I want Jesus to come in and fix things like right now, rather than allow me to go through a level of my own pain or discomfort or even suffering. But the Lord is expecting us to take up our cross as well, and to follow him. So as he suffered and died, so too are we called to take up our cross each day and follow him. So the question is, what kind of king would you prefer Jesus to be for you? It depends on the day, but obviously, the older I get, the more I have a better understanding of, and the power and the beauty of this kind of king who says to Peter, put your sword back into its scabbard, in its sheath. And he's not going to be a warrior king. He's going to be a suffering servant, one who lays down his life freely and takes it up again. And that's the kind of king, at the end of the day, that we really need. Maybe not the one we want, but always the king that we've always wanted in this world has always failed miserably. The king that we've always wanted, presidents and kings, and it never works out. Mm-hmm. But the one that seems to work out is this one that we have identified with over these last 2,000 years. And it seems to be working if we just stick with him.
That's so true. And I can't remember, I think it may have been Fulton Sheen who said, I lost faith in politicians with Pilate. So I'm just done with politicians. That's a pretty good thing for us to remember now, right? So I heard this at the National Eucharistic Congress, that we have a Savior, and his name isn't, and he named off some politicians. And that's so true. But I think while I don't need a political king, the question is, what kind of a king would I prefer Jesus to be? And I I do think of that Old Testament king because he fought for his people. And I need Jesus to fight for me because I can't fight these battles on my own. So he defends me. When that accuser is coming against me and lying to me, then I need someone who's going to stand there between us and defend us with his life. And I need to be able to lean on a king like that who's strong. And so last year, I started praying the surrender novena before I go to sleep at night every night. It's just 2 lines. This is a novena that even I can't flunk. I can actually do this. It's 2 sentences every night as I'm drifting off to sleep. You repeat it like 10 times. And it's, Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. And we can also say, Jesus, I surrender myself and my family to you. If we're family members that we're concerned about, or Jesus, I surrender myself and my career to you, whatever it is, or my health. And just letting him fight those battles for us and empower us to do the fighting that we need to do on our own, but empowered by him and with him defending us. That's the kind of king that I want.
Yeah. So good. You know, as I was reflecting on this, I can totally relate to Peter in this moment, like thinking or wanting to be Jesus, something different than, always like what is in my head is often not what the Lord wants. But I was reminded of in the I think it was the Book of Kings or Book of Judges, where it's like the people are like, no, we want a king. And the prophet's like, no, you don't. You don't want a king. It's going to be bad. He's going to take your land. He's going to make you work for free. I mean, like, and they're like, no, we want a king. So they're like, all right, you asked for it. Here's a king. And of course it went badly. And so like this reflection reminded me of that. And sometimes I can be like that. I can be like, well, I want a king. I want God to take care of everything. I want him to, like you said, I want poverty to end. I want everyone to be converted. I want peace everywhere. I want all this. And the Lord could do it. Like he could just, everything's perfect. But if that were the case, if that were the kind of king he was, then we wouldn't have a choice. I wouldn't be able to choose to love the Lord. I wouldn't be able to choose to live for him. I wouldn't be able to choose to lay down my life. I wouldn't be able to collaborate with him to bring healing and restoration to the world around me. And so even though I might want the easy way, Lord, just do it. That's not what we're called to. And his reign is a reign of love. And so I've got to accept that.
I think the good news is that he does offer us the easy way. That despite all of the pain and all of the sorrow and all the struggles, he does say, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And it's just a matter of trust. It's like trying to breathe underwater. It's just like, how do I trust this? How can I do this? It doesn't seem to work. But nevertheless, he keeps beckoning us and asking us. And in essence, he does take care of the poverty and all of the things that you were just saying. He has done that. It just hasn't been fully realized until we open our eyes to this kingdom.
That's a good analogy, the breathing underwater. I need to remember that.
Don't try
trusting. I just like really, that's what faith is. It's trusting, right? That he's going to do it. So, and I think sometimes we make it hard.
Yeah.
And it's not hard. We throw obstacles in front of ourselves and in front of others when it's really, we don't need to make it hard.
Right.
So.
But kids, don't try to breathe underwater.
All right. Well, Bishop, we have a task for this week.
Yes.
What is it?
Well, count the times in your day you expect recognition, trying to be somebody, like Caesar or Augustus or Philip, the Tetrarch. Count the times in that same day you recognize others. I think that's great. Peter recognized Jesus as the king. How do we recognize Christ in others? I think that's important.
It's a good task.
That is a good task. All right.
I'm going to try that at home.
I'm going to try it everywhere. I see you, Joyce.
There
I recognize
you
your goodness,
you
Bishop.
too,
I see you.
Well,
I recognize your
thank
goodness.
you.
All right. Well, we will see you next week. Thank you so much for being here.
Too.
For more information on Christ in Our Neighborhood and resources to start your own group, visit the Christ in Our Neighborhood section at the Diocese of Phoenix website.